Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Onana deal, Rasmus Hojlund, Mason Greenwood, and a few other things that I want to get into today and just clarify where things are at. State of play going into the weekend, as we are about a week out from preseason really kicking off. So let's get right into it. Number one on Andre Onana. So obviously over the last weekend, I was told that United were more optimistic over the situation. Following that, over the next few days, the situation accelerated. It continued, it improved, they got closer. Yesterday, United made an offer of around 45 plus 5, and they were optimistic, but at the same time, that offer was rejected, with Inter looking for something like 50 plus 5 in add-ons. What I was told as of last night was that they were still optimistic on it and they were still hopeful, but they did need a shift a bit from Inter. And it's not negative, it's just a matter of the negotiations. It's understanding some of the other things. It can look like it's 5 million off, but there's the nature of add-ons. If Manchester United's 5 add-ons are when we win trophies and things like that, and if the other 5 add-ons that Inter won are 25 appearances, then there's no agreement even on that extra 5, so you're really about 10 apart. Now, as of today, there's obviously Fabrizio Romano said that the deal is talks today progressed well, and the deal is closer, and it's expected to finish next week, and there's confidence from all parties. And so from what I understand, just on the current state of things, is that it's not totally done. It's not totally agreed. There are still details to work out, which likely have to come down to some of the nature of those structures, but that there's an overall fee agreement in that range. But the nature of those fee structures needs to be addressed. That is not totally done, but these things are usually formalities, and there's obviously an expectation from both parties at this point, and a want and need and desire for both parties to get this done in the next week so that Onana can join up when he's regularly expected to return, which is on the 13th. And that way he's in for basically the full preseason for Manchester United for Erik ten Hag. Obviously a huge, huge deal, this signing. This has been a long road. I think it was October 5th, I put out a video that said Manchester United were looking at a new number one for next year. Now, obviously, Diogo Costa was top of that list, but the costs associated with him become too much, where Onana became a fairly good opportunity. And United are obviously continuing to work on it because they believe they can get a deal done for, in the end, I think it'll come out to, it might end up being that 55 million euros total, but the nature of the add-ons should be pretty helpful to where they're only committing between 45 and 50 in guaranteed fee in euros, which is only 40-something million in pounds, which is a fantastic deal for a keeper. When you compare to Diogo Costa, his release clause of 70 million, obviously much tougher, payment terms much tougher. So, not done yet. Confidence from all parties. A few details to work out when it comes to the fee agreement itself, but it's close, and it's at the stage where the expectation is it will get done, that they all intend to get it done, and they intend to hash it out and make sure it's finished by the end of next week. And I would say it's looking like another very, very good job from one John Murtaugh, who has been leading really all of this at the moment in time, taking through the discussions, talking to people, following up, all of that. So it seems to be pretty good. And this is huge. I mean, this is a huge, huge signing, frankly. Transformative for the team. Long time coming. And obviously, something we all feel that is needed very, very strongly for this club to take the next step. And I certainly think that, at this stage, a keeper like Onana and someone like Mason Mount is transformative to the play style, because it's going to allow United to play much higher on the front foot, shorten the pitch, which is where the energy, the pressing, and the running and all of that of Mason Mount does, much like Fred. And so you get that better Fred, but you get a keeper who can play a higher line, who can play it out the back, who can build up and give Erik ten Hag more of the shape that he wants in attack, which will, of course, lead to more bodies in the box and in the final third from the attacking areas, and has an effect all the way up the pitch. So it's gonna be great to see that in preseason. Obviously, that means Dean Henderson likely to depart as expected, and Tom Heaton we cannot go into preseason with Tom Heaton being the only goalkeeper. So looks like that's going to get done. Now, even more interestingly, there was this random link to this Suzuki, American-born player playing in Japan, and it looks like a very interesting young goalkeeper prospect. And after I saw it, I got some messages from people and spoke to a couple others that the paper that reported it was very good, actually, for the club he plays for. And I asked some others, and they said there's legitimate interest in him. So I tweeted that out last night, and it seems today that there's been some more confirmations that he is a name on the list. He is someone United have looked at. They have a scout in Japan that's been watching, and we'll see if it happens. But, obviously if Dean departs, they don't bring back De Gea. They likely do want to get 2 keepers in, and he could be very affordable and a pretty exciting young keeper. So the whole goalkeeper revolution is here. That's what it's looking like. So it's good to see that. And so, that's a huge part of the progress for Manchester United. And I could definitely see them signing Onana and this Suzuki fella to rebuild that goalkeeping department. Moving forward into Rasmus Hojlund, this one's still a little bit up in the air. There's some talks. They've continued to maintain, talks with him. It's going to come down to the fees and structures and things like that following this Onana deal, which is why they needed to get such a good deal. The Onana deal is a deal available. It's a deal on the table. It's a deal they can get done. This one is not guaranteed yet. Obviously, they're trying to work within a budget, within certain finances, and with the good deals that they're trying to make here, they think they could move forward with Hojlund if it comes down to a semi-reasonable fee in the range of 40, 50 million and some add-ons. Then they could get it done, end up with, something like 130, 140 million spent. You get the sale of Dean Henderson that can go through now. You get the cleared wages of De Gea. You look to then move, anybody else you can on. So this one is not done. It's not particularly close at this point in time either, but it's obviously going to be the next step in the process moving forward for the next target. It's going to be striker, and then if unless they cannot get that done, they'll move to the following priority. But they would be able to progress on this now with the Onana deal with a little more knowledge of how much money that they have left, what's approved. But for now, as expected, it is still Joel Glazer saying, here's the money, here's a signing, present the deal, approving, all of that. So let's see what happens. And obviously we saw some delay on that on the Onana deal, where it was seemed like an offer was coming, takes that extra 5 days basically to get approved. And Rasmus Hojlund, I don't think is going to be immediate, but one that they're probably going to say, okay, let's clear some players out and get into this at the same time now, because we have this asset, especially in Dean Henderson, that we can sell. And I wouldn't be surprised if, frankly, that's it for the summer, to be fair. But I think they're doing really well if they're going to get 2 starting 11 players in before preseason, better than most years. With regards to Mason Greenwood, a couple of details on this. Obviously, there's been a story that he's set to arrive in Atalanta next week on Tuesday, and some things like that. And I don't... So I asked about that, and at the moment, it's a good source on this and someone that I trust to have good information. At the moment, they're saying that it's very, very, very speculative. This is a highly speculative report, and that the decision has not been made one way or another by Richard Arnold and the Glazers yet. Not yet, but it's impending on what happens. So even if there's talks of if the decision is a loan, so what you might be seeing is that there's maybe been some discussion where if the decision is a loan, where could we place him? Because they're going to want to be prepared. And Atalanta looks like a spot that could happen. And so maybe there's some discussion on that to where if it's decided you got to loan him out, you can't keep him. Right now, that's the best decision. That's the decision that's been made. Then they can send him off. But for now, it's a speculative. It's ahead of the reality of the situation. obviously waiting for that decision, which could happen at any time. And Murtaugh tends to be pretty prepared, as far as I can tell. And so he's probably looking at, okay, well, either we'll do this and he'll train and do that, or where could we place him and could it help us with any deals? If so, in which case they might be saying, okay, well, we want a player in Rasmus Hojlund for Atalanta. You might have asked him about it. I think that's all probable as to how it's happened, but at the moment, the decision hasn't been made to loan him. The decision hasn't been made to do anything yet. And so until that decision gets made, it's not going to be, that. Could that decision come in the next few days? Yes, because United are going to be traveling soon and all of that. Something has to happen. He's very, very unlikely that it goes on that U.S. tour, of course. Would he return to individual training at Old Trafford at Carrington while the team is away for a few weeks? Or to decide to send him on loan and maybe even recall him in January? You never know. So they're probably lining up opportunities in every... like I said, the way that they work through things is not one decision, then the next, but to line up all their opportunities and see if they can start knocking them down. And this would be, based on the decision that's made, lining up opportunities that could perhaps, go either way in the situation. They might be looking at, if it does decide that he's going to go on loan, then we can reduce the price on talks. If he's not decided it's going on loan, it actually lessens our need to buy somebody right now. So both scenarios are going to be looked at so that there's a decision to be made for both paths. But yeah, right now speculative, and from what I understand, also coming from the Italian side more than from United themselves in terms of the interest of doing that. So it's probably been floated, but a decision has not been made on his future yet at this point in time. And so until it is, it's just speculation. Let's see if I have anything else before I move on to the final thing. Okay, obviously, takeover and what comes next. When we talk about this, there's the transfers. It looks like they're going to get through the main priorities one way or another this window, which is good to see and is a testament to the work that's been being done behind the scenes and all of that. When it comes to the takeover, obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe had quotes come out in answer to questions at his book release event on Wednesday evening. And, you can see that obviously from his perspective, his deal's not dead in the water or anything like that. I've said before that, I do have a good source on this, and they've never heard that it's been dead in the water. And if they thought they were, they would do a pullout brief and they would leave the process. There's been continuously a lot of conflicting reports that just continue to pop up. Now one of the Qatari papers says that Sheikh Jassim doesn't think the Glazers want to sell, and he hasn't heard back in 4 weeks. It might be quoting The Guardian. It's quite hard to tell. It doesn't say it is, but it kind of feels like it is. Regardless, there's not a lot of solid information on here. The Times obviously came out with their report, and they see things from one side, and we'll see if that's the side that ends up being correct or not, stating that his bid was actually being preferred by the Glazers. There's pressure from Class A shareholders being put on the board, and that could explain the other reports. We'll see. Obviously, you've had all this noise with Rio Ferdinand and the Five, and news that hasn't actually come out about that, but they're still saying it's going to, and I have my impression of what it's going to be about, but we'll see. So, like I said, I'm not taking much stock in any of it. Times, this or that, in terms of preferences, in terms of this, whether it's for Jim Ratcliffe, whether it's for Qatar, because we've had it all. We've had every possible thing covered at this point in time, I think. Everything's been imminent. Everything's been about to be done. Every person's been favored. Every person's been out of the race. And yet here we are, July 7, nothing has happened. There was obviously the rumor with this thing about the Cayman Islands, a company that floated out there. So I decided to spend a little money to check it out because I was curious if it had been created, that 9-2 holdings in the last couple of days. I think that would be very significant, actually. But it hadn't. It was created in April. So not significant, not meaningful, just something that they would have prepared for in the case that they win. So in terms of what next, as I said, I heard about a meeting this week Obviously, nothing on that's been reported. Will it be? I don't know, honestly. We've only had like one report of a meeting like this, which was there was one from Mark Kleiman where he said that the board got together whether to go into exclusive talks with Jim Ratcliffe or Ineos, and they declined at that point in time, etc. It's like there's a lot of tension and a lot of things building up behind the scenes to indicate that something is about to break. But that might just be the tension of the people waiting, like us at the club who are waiting for answers. It might just be that their tension is reaching that tipping point. Things have kind of loosened up and smoothed out on obviously the transfer window and all of that, so we can only speculate. But as I said, at the moment in time, I am expecting that there's something significant coming down the line, but I don't want to do that whole thing and say, I know there's this and it's coming at this point in time or any of that, because I don't. And it would be speculation. I'm confident in the information that I receive, and I think something will come out of this meeting. That's a thought, though. I think something will come out of this meeting within the next few days to a week, but that's just based on previous patterns and things like that. So I wish I could be more specific and say it's not a matter of holding much back on that, but that I don't want to tell people, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. And I don't know that that's the case. I don't know what the conclusion is of this meeting. I don't know at all, frankly, what the conclusion is as of this point in time. But if I do get more updates, I will certainly pass them along. If I get anything on what happened with that or anything else on the current state of things ahead of reports, I will definitely pass them along. Okay. Regardless, United going on tour very shortly. I'll probably talk about something related to that and my community pretty soon. But that's what I've got for now. Okay, so thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next one.